This week, there was a major leak where secret Iranian military documents were exposed to the public. And according to those documents, Iran has secretly acquired a Chinese spy satellite that enables them to directly target US military bases across the Middle East with pinpoint accuracy. Apparently, the satellite in question was built by the Chinese company EarthEye, and it was launched at the end of 2024. The leaked documents show evidence that the satellite was used to pinpoint missile strikes against US bases over the last several weeks. For example, on March 13th, the satellite captured images of Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, and on March 14th, the US military confirmed US planes at the base had been hit by an Iranian strike. Also, the satellite was recording images of our airbase in Jordan, the 5th Fleet Naval Base, and several other locations around the times when the IRGC claimed to have attacked those facilities as well. China's growing involvement in this war seems very concerning. Just last week, several American media outlets reported that, according to U.S. intelligence leaked by 3 sources, China was in the preparation stage to deliver new air defense systems to Iran in the coming weeks. Of course, China issued denials for both of these claims, saying that China has never provided weapons to any party in the conflict, but it's doubtful this is an accurate reflection of what's actually true. Air defense from China could very possibly shift the nature of this war, and Iran armed with any kind of new air defense could very quickly make US and Israeli strikes much more dangerous. This news about China comes as we have 2 very important announcements from President Trump about the war. First though, if you're enjoying this content, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Also consider subscribing here to the channel if you haven't already. The first major announcement is the US will be deploying an additional 10,000 more troops to the Middle East. 6,000 are scheduled to deploy over the next few days, and 4,000 more will arrive by the end of the month. The first deployment of troops are set to arrive aboard the USS George H.W. Bush aircraft carrier, which will arrive in the Middle East with its escort fleet. Also, U.S. Central Command Commander Brad Cooper arrived in Israel on Tuesday and met with IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir and other senior Israeli officials as well. Apparently, they are discussing operational plans should President Trump order the resuming of attacks against Iran. It's unclear why the Pentagon is sending so many additional troops to the Middle East. They could be planning a limited operation to retrieve Iran's enriched uranium, or it could be an additional pressure leveraged against Iran in the coming negotiations, which brings us to Trump's second major announcement, which is there is a very strong possibility that there could be a new round of talks with Iranian representatives, which could happen as soon as tomorrow. These talks would be led again by Vice President J.D. Vance. Thankfully, President Trump continues to make very clear that there will be no deal unless the Iranians completely end their nuclear program and hand over their already enriched uranium. He also just issued another threat of the U.S. destroying all of Iran's bridges and power plants in an hour if Iran does not concede on the nuclear issues in the coming negotiations. And according to J.D. Vance, in the first round of negotiations, progress was made with the Iranians on the nuclear issue. He said in a statement in regard to Iran not pursuing nuclear and having the enriched uranium removed by the U.S., quote, "Those are the 2 things where, frankly, the Iranians, I think, did make some progress." Also, according to Vance, the first round of negotiations ended without a deal because the Iranians who were present lacked the authority to finalize an agreement. They claimed they needed to return to Tehran for approval. This honestly is one of the most difficult hurdles the U.S. team is facing right now, who to even negotiate with. Since Israel and the U.S. have been able to neutralize several layers of Iranian leadership, it's hard to say who is actually calling the shots at the moment. It seems, according to the available evidence, that most of the day-to-day decisions are being made by a council of mid-level IRGC military commanders, leaving those remaining on the political level pushed to the side. The New York Times is reporting that for the coming negotiations happening in Islamabad, again, maybe as soon as tomorrow, The U.S. is demanding that Iran suspend its uranium enrichment activities for 20 years. IRGC officials have already countered with an offer for 5 years, but I think it's doubtful President Trump would accept a commitment that low, or at least I hope that he would not. But it is just possible that despite all of the challenges and risks we just discussed, Iran could be ready for serious negotiations. Yesterday, there was a series of unconfirmed attacks across Iran, a couple of car bombings, drone attacks on IRGC checkpoints. We don't know who carried out the attacks, but it does point to a weakening of IRGC security control inside of Iran. Also, the Iranian Rial has been collapsing at an alarming rate. The current exchange rate is almost 1.6 million Rials per American dollar. For context, in early February, before the U.S.-Israel strikes, the Rial was trading at about 500,000 to every U.S. dollar, meaning we've seen an over 300% depreciation of the value of the currency, which is staggering. According to reports coming directly from Tehran, the government has almost completely collapsed. The city has been completely taken over by IRGC units, along with foreign militias who have been moving in with their trucks and equipment. Banks are hardly functioning, trash services aren't running, a lot of stores and businesses are closed, and nearly all official government services have ground to a halt. It seems that President Trump probably was correct when he said last week that regime change has already happened. We're just not sure which regime will seize the moment and take the reins of power in the coming weeks and months. I think it's very possible, with all of this in consideration, that Iran could in fact make an effort to cut a deal with the U.S. The main unanswered question is whether they could cut a deal that would effectively limit their ability to produce nuclear weapons in the future, or whether a deal would give them time to rearm and reorganize for another round of fighting in the near future. God willing, it will be the first of those two options. Guys, if you haven't seen this already, I have a teaser for a very exciting project that we are working on. Take a look.
Shiloh was the unifying spot that brought the nation of Israel together 3 times a year. A total of 9 red heifers have been sacrificed. But today, here in the place in ancient Shiloh, where it all began many years ago, a possible 10th red heifer could be behind these doors. What I'm holding in my hand is pottery that is literally 3,000 years old. The Ark of the Covenant was here. God's presence literally rested in this spot. Nothing good ever comes from giving away God's land.
This will be premiering here on the channel this coming Sunday, April 19th. If you want to be notified when it is released, there's a link in the description where you can sign up. I am very excited to share this short film with you, showcasing the beauty of the land of Israel and the faithfulness of God throughout the centuries. Again, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, share it with a friend or two, and as always, thanks for watching.